All right, so let's begin with the weekly review. So this week there was three trades, two of which I missed, and one was break even. So all of them were double break, and let's see what price. How did I miss the trade and what happened until we have the opening range setting up. All right, so that was Monday. That was double break on Monday. Now price did break the opening range high. Then we had the CISD to the downside. Price closed below the New York VWAP, and there was sells to the downside. Now 1 hour candle did break the high, also flipped bearish on the 1 hour, so the sells made sense. But the only thing that throw me off is that the overnight and the previous New York low VWAP was too close to the opening range low, and but with price closing below the New York, I could have expected for price to continue pushing down because we had the valid C2 close on the 15-minute time frame. So really, I needed to be focused on the higher time frame. Now, the second trade I took was on Wednesday. So this trade was taken on Wednesday. Now I did take sells after price did break the opening range high. Now we have the change in the state of delivery. We do have change CISD, right at this point. We have CISD price closed then below the New York, which is the blue line, and we had all the key levels aligned for shorts, so I took sells. The only thing I did not secure here, which in this case, the money wise, it was a 1%, so I had to secure at that point, but I decided to keep it longer to see if price really wants to go down, and price did actually close above the New York. I closed at break even, and then you can see price came back, but we did never sweep the low and price pushed higher, so I would be in a loss if I wouldn't secure the at break even, right? So this was the trade actually. So two entries within M15 C2, C4, which was at 10:30 candle, now closed at break even without waiting for M15 to actually close, because on each one there was C2 formed and the opening range lows most likely will be hit. Right. This I wrote before this happened, and obviously price did push higher, but later in the day price did actually reach the opening range low. So this was my break even trade, and there was amazing trade yesterday, which was a double break once again, and really I want to take these kind of positions because if I have the double break today, and if I'm not gonna take the double break today, then and it's gonna lose, for example. So I would think that this strategy doesn't work, but in reality I just did not take every single position this week for a double break trade. So this was a double break trade. Price did close above did break the opening range low. Then we had the CISD to the downside. Price did close below the New York, which is the blue line. So this is the entry trigger. The stop loss would go above the 15-minute candle high bodies. Then I would target the opening range low, and as you can see, price reached the opening range low, price hit 2R, and later in the day, price even pushed lower. So, the conclusion is that I did not actually enter the trade uh, that was within my plan. So that was completely my bad. And yeah, let's see what we get today. So So 6 minutes until the opening range is set. So at that point we will see what I want to do next, because we had a push higher before the session. Now we have manipulation, 15 minutes as well as the 1 hour. And for potential break and retest trade, what I will need is I will need the new 15-minute swing point formed within the 10 a.m. candle, which it may or may not to be the case today. For the double break trade, overnight, and the New York is right here, so I think that there is a possibility of price wanting to retrace at some point, and if not, then I will wait for double break trade, price closes back above the New York, and I'm looking for continuation buys, so that may be the case too. 2 minutes left until the 15-minute candle closes, and we set up the opening range. Alright, so at this point we have a opening range set. So now there is two things that price may want to do. Is either we either price comes down, breaks the low. Now then we have CISD to the upside, and then I look for buys until the opening range high. Then what else? Price pushes higher, we have CISD to the downside, and then closure below the New York, and I'm looking for sells to the opening range low. Or at this point I will look for break and retest buys. I'm not gonna look for break and retest sells. So why don't why I won't take the break and retest sells? Simply because for break and retest sells my key levels must align. So this and this, they must be in one direction, right? So now you see that price so these two key levels down here. So even if price just pushes down, I miss this trade because I know that at any given moment, if price double breaks, it can go higher after the CISD. So I wouldn't expect for price to go down. I would expect for price to sweep this low, CISD, and then obviously look for potential longs with whatever stop loss here and take profit here. So I will look for this trade. because at this point the all key levels would align in one direction. So so for me to take buys, I need either double break opening range low, or I need break and retest with a new swing point on the 15 confirmed. I would expect the next 1 hour candle to be expansion candle, so I will need the swing point on M15, so I can execute on 1 minute. So I will execute the 15-minute swing point confirmed by CISD on the 1 minute, right? And I'm trading the hourly expansion candle, right? Because if I have the swing point on M15, either to the downside or to the upside, then it means that there is likely to be the expansion candle. So either price breaks this high first and then maybe I see the break and retest, or price break here, I have changed in the state of delivery and then pushing higher. Now for double break sells, I don't really want to take the double break sells even if they play out, because I know that at any given moment I don't know where will be the low. So because the key levels is down here, and if price would have for sells, then the only way I would take sells is if price breaks high first, CISD, and then maybe price will go lower. But we'll see. Not thinking, just just the ideas, what I'm going to do when price will do that or this, if this then that, if this then that. Like, if price breaks the opening range low first, I look for buys. If price breaks opening range high first, I look for sells. Or if price does break the opening range high, I look for break and retest. If price, depends on this move, if price will continue pushing higher. But you know, it is a last 4 minutes, last 5 minutes of the 1 hour candle, and let's see how the 1 hour candle closes, either above the range of above the previous candle range or back inside, and then we'll see. But what I'm looking for is this range right here. So this range right here, this is what I'm waiting for, to be either price breaks high first or low. All right, so gold does look good for buys to the opening range. So right here. So this would be the trade on gold. So I think that there is a potential price breaking once again with the next candle. Price breaks the low once again, and then we will see something whenever price does close above the New York. I will see the sell buys to the on gold. So on NQ, still waiting. Yeah, the trade's gonna take some time for price to break either side of the range. You know, this is very important. So until either side of the range is, either price breaks this or this, until then I'm not taking trade inside here. There is no trade. Like, I'm not gonna watch this price action. After price breaks here or here, then I look for potential trade. And that is a opening range. That's how I trade the opening range, and that's the window I will trade until 11 a.m. So until 11 a.m. right here. So this right here, so that's the time-based strategy and the price action. All right. So that would be, there is no entry from here because there is no change in the state of delivery on the 1 hour, on the gold 1 minute. So this is my trading week for this week. Now that was the week before, and this week I had only one trade. All right. Alright, so price may finally break the opening range which was set from here to and here. Now, right, so if price does break here, I wait for CISD and then closure above the New York so I can trade the rest of the range. Alright, so 1 minute left until the 15-minute candle close. And to be honest, I would love to see one more break of the low and then some sort of CISD and closure above, and then I can look for buys. What about gold? Yeah, gold looks like shit. Nothing on gold yet. Actually, yeah. If price does close above here, then we have CISD and candle, trade within the candle 4. This right here, we now have a bearish closure, and the 1 hour still bullish. What I mean by still bullish is that we never close back, we never close below this low of the previous candle. So, and also remember that there is a key levels which is below the marketplace, and price still may go either here or reject from here, and then I can look for potential buys to the session high. And other than that, there will be no trades. I'm not gonna take the break and retest because not all the key levels are in alignment for me. Such as gold. Gold is still, the break and retest still could work out, but we'll see. I don't think I will take trade on gold. All right. So it's good that we have a CISD on the 1 minute right here. This candle is my CISD. Now, do I want to take trade here? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I will take the buys. So my stop loss goes below this low, and I'm expecting for price to go to the opening range high. Alright, so the entry was a bit late, but it is what it is. So my stop loss goes actually below the low. Alright, so there is nothing I can change. So the plan was double break trade. Now we do have the key levels from the overnight and the previous New York session low back below here. So below the marketplace means price is in a bullish trend. Now we do have a first break of the opening range low, and yeah, at this point either price is going to go up or it will go down. So it is a 50-50 trade, but I do have the break of the opening range low first, which means that I am on the buyer side more than on the seller. So that's it. Today is 3rd of July, Friday. The trade was executed at 10:17. 10:17. This is a buy double break. So I risked. Right. So how much do I risked? It is a 10. All right. So overnight that was within the C2 1 minute. Yeah, so if price does sweep the low and then I have once again the CISD, then most likely I will take trade once again to the upside, obviously, if it presents. So liquidity was taken at 10:15. All right, so this was a loss below 10:15. 10:15 candle bodies. So this was -1 hour. This was a loss. All right, so all right, looks like we may have a one more entry. Let's see. So as soon as price closes above here and blue line you see which was a New York, then I may give one more try, but yeah, at this point I will wait for price to confirm, because there still may be no trade, there may be no valid closure. Alright, so 4 minutes until the 15-minute candle close, which is most likely will close as a swing point for the 10 a.m. candle. So I trust this trade. So this would be my second try for this trade. If price does close above the red line on the chart, that would be CISD. Price didn't, so I'm gonna wait for one more candle. Until then, I'm waiting because there is no still CISD to the upside. So only when price does close above this candle, I will enter the trade. So otherwise, there will be no trade. I mean, there was one trade that I lost. That was buys. So let's see if I can get second chance for this trade. Alright, 3 minutes left until the 15-minute candle close, and there is still no CISD to the upside. So the trade is still valid. So the trade is still valid whenever we close above here. And then maybe I can target the highs here and then eventually here. Why? Because we do have a break of the opening range low first. Now we have liquidity swept, and now I'm waiting for price to close above this high to confirm the CISD. And you know, with the key levels below, price is still bullish. If price goes down, then it is what it is. We don't have the opening range high break, so there is no sells for me, at least. So this trade may come, may not. So this was the idea for the first trade. Now this was the CISD right here. Then price did yeah, so price didn't never closed above the New York VWAP, which is the blue line, and that caused me loss. So unfortunately, but from mistakes we learn, and that trade is not gonna break me because they know that on Monday or whatever, whenever I take another trade, it will be win. So that was a alright. So I still have the C2. So I have the swing point formed for the 10 a.m. candle, and now I will wait for price to confirm the CISD, which was here. So this swing point is still valid for price to, to make the CISD and then continue pushing higher to this high and this high. Also the today is the bank holiday, so the range is expected. The candles are really small, and this range is only 50 points, which is for NQ is nothing, right? So that's why it moves so slow at this point. And yeah, I may not even take the second chance for this trade because the price action is very slow. left until the 15-minute candle close. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good at all.
So there will be no trade today most likely, because I have the candle close in 9 minutes, the new 1 hour candle opens, and obviously I would want to see the new 15-minute swing point formed within the new 11 a.m. candle, but as I said, I'm not gonna trade after 11 a.m. I only manage, it's a very rare case, and yeah. Alright guys, so at this point there is no trade for me anymore. I mean, there was one today, I took a loss and that's completely fine. So I lose only 1%, not even 1%, so that's completely fine. And we still in profits for the week. And yeah, it doesn't show yet on my top 1 futures, but it's okay guys. So we're still in profits for, it's only 1 loss for this week. All right, so it looks like prices may close. Did we close? No, not really. So we didn't close above the New York. Yeah, you can see how price is struggling to close above the New York. Let's see if we can get closure above the New York, but it's 5 minutes left until the 5 a.m. Until 10 a.m. candle close. Alright, so I give this trade one more chance. So this is still double break trade with the valid CISD. Now we do have a full VWAP alignment. So at this point, either price pushes and sweeps the opening range high, or it is what it is. Alright, so 3 minutes left. So that's obviously a 0.5% risk running now, because whenever I lose, I lower my risk. I'm not going higher risk. I go lower risk. So if I lose, that doesn't hurt me much. So that was a 10:55 entry. That was double break 10:55. That's the same buy idea. This is a buys. That was a 0.5% risk. That's the double break. Both VWAPs. That was within the candle 1 minute. This was here below the 15-minute candle close bodies. Alright, so I'm gonna leave my trade run until the 12th. We'll see where price is at 12. Either price does sweep the opening range high, or I just close whatever price is, because we have the markets will close at 12, roughly at
in 2 hours. So I will leave this trade as it is, and see you in the next one tomorrow. I mean on Monday at this point, because yeah. So have a good weekend.